Good evening, black powder shooters. This is Tim Davis back with you again from the Early American Arms channel. It's been a long time since I've made a video, last fall as a matter of fact. It's been a very busy year at work. Winter's been brutal. I haven't been out in my shop a whole lot because it's been so cold, and had a little bit of minor medical problems, health problems there in early February, and ended up having to have some surgery done. And now all that's behind me, and feeling good, and have been able to get back out here in my shop, spend a little time doing what I love and fooling around with black powder arms, and especially black powder revolvers, Colt open tops. And wanted to share a couple of additions I've made to my collection here lately. The newest I want to talk about tonight is one I picked up last week at the How Gun Collectors Show. And this is a beautiful second model Dragoon made by Army San Marco. This was made back in 1990. This is a very beautiful example. I don't think it's been shot a whole lot, but it's been taken care of pretty well. Got a few mismatched screws in it, and ended up really actually having a rifle cone in one of the cylinders. Didn't have any others that would fit it, so I ended up having to take that out and machine it down to make it work until I get a set of nipples for this particular gun. But gorgeous gun. Army San Marco made some of these bigger Colt pistols when they were still in business. They made some Walkers, and they made the Dragoons, and they're just very well made guns. This one was in very good shape, been taken pretty good care of. There's a couple little handling marks on it, but other than that, very nice gun. Shoots well. Still kind of learning point of aim, and what loads it really likes. I've been using 40 grains of Go X3F to propel it, and it seems to be handling that just fine. One thing I do notice about this one that is a good thing, different from the ones I've witnessed on YouTube. Charging handle doesn't drop on this. With the 40 grains, it handles it, stays in place, and makes it a lot more fun to shoot. Kind of a neat history on these guns. This is the more rare variation of the Colt Dragoon, which is the second model. This is one of the three guns that really propelled Colt as the firearms giant that they became back around 1850. Colt, as you know, had made the Patterson. It was a well-liked firearm. It was kind of small, caliber-wise, and a little bit finicky to operate, but it still gave the Texas Rangers that used them superior firepower over the Indians that they fought on the plains. And one of the people that really admired the Patterson was Sam Walker, and he used those in combat and really appreciated them. And when the Mexican War broke out, he wanted a revolver to take into battle, but he wanted one a little heavier than the Patterson. So of course, you know, he met with Colt, and Colt was bankrupt at the time, didn't even have a factory, and they got together and designed the venerable Walker revolver, which this is another addition to my collection that I'm very happy to have in it. This is a Uberti, brand new Uberti made Walker, and as you can see, the Walker was a massive pistol, and this pistol is what propelled Colt back into business. Eli Whitney III produced these in his shop, with the proviso that after the production run was done of the 1100, Colt got the tooling. So after he went through the whole process, which is a story in itself about the Walker revolver. Maybe we'll do a video on it later. But the process of getting this made and getting them delivered, and the accoutrements that went with them, put Sam Colt back in business. But then the Mexican War was over. And again, they only made a run of about 1,100 of these revolvers. Massive horse pistol guns, 44 caliber, big enough to drop a horse at 100 yards. That's what Sam Walker wanted. But not very practical to walk around with this gun on your hip. It was a horse pistol. These were designed to carry a brace of these on a horseback and use them in lieu of a rifle. At that point, that were single shot. These are repeating arms. You had 6 shots with one of these. If you carried the brace, you had 12 shots, repeating, fast, a lot of firepower, and more than the other enemies or forces had at the time. But like I said, after the Mexican War was over, Colt was left with his tooling, and with the flaws they found in the Walker, he streamlined that and took the tooling that he was in the deal for him to keep from Whitney, and began making a new series of pistols, which were the Dragoons. All right, as you can see, still a big pistol, but this operated, rather than a 60 grain charge like the massive Walker, these operated with a 50 grain charge. 40 is more practical, and that's usually what they ended up with after they really started using these weapons a good bit anyway, and it's actually what I shoot in this one. But this is the second model. The first model was called a transitional Dragoon, transitional Walker, whatever you would identify it as, and it was made with a lot of Walker parts, and it still had the humped Walker grip frame on it, and still used the Walker type spring. Still had the slotted oval cylinder stops in it. The first model, pretty much the same way, but some of the nuances with this weapon was they went from a 9-inch barrel to a 7.5-inch barrel, made it more manageable. They took a 1/4 inch off of the cylinder, as you can see, much shorter. Made this a more manageable weapon. Still a horse pistol, by all means, but it had enough weight knocked off of it and length knocked off of it. You could carry it in a holster on your belt, and it was manageable. And that's what Colt wanted with these particular pistols. Now, the second model is the nuances in the second model from the transitional model in the first model was, you see the new lock work, the new cylinder slots with the guides on them, which became pretty much prominent for the rest of history with Colt and their single action pistols. They had the guide notches, no more, so that improved the lock work. These have regular straight mainspring in them, like the rest of the Colt pistols did. Like I said, these were. This is the more rare of the models would be the second model. There's only about 2,500 of them made, and these became a plainsman gun. Pretty expensive. They started out, first productions early were about $28, which was a hefty sum in the 1850s. And by the time they went out of production in 1860, civilian market, they were running about $20, which, again, 3 or 4 months' pay or more for one of these. But they were very popular with plainsmen. They would carry these on their belt along with a Hawken rifle. These were used even to hunt buffalo off a horseback. They were strong enough to where you could ride it beside the buffalo and put one in the back of his head or behind his ear and drop it. It had that powerful 44 caliber ball behind 40 or 50 grains of powder. It's still another easily to engage targets at 100 yards with this, but a more pointable gun, other than that big, huge Walker. Another difference that made these more accurate, if you notice the difference between the Walker and the Dragoon, you have a forcing cone, a 1/2 inch forcing cone on the Dragoon, not present on the Walker. These were much like the design of these fitting into the barrel were much like the Pattersons. So again, another technological nuance here that made this a more accurate weapon. Many of these are made for martial use. On the originals, if they were martial arms, they would have a US stamped on the frame. But again, these are very popular with civilians. These guns were powerful, good, a repeating arm. If you carried this along with a Hawken rifle, you're well armed and ready to face the challenges of the plains with hunting, wild animals, bandits, Indians, whatever you needed to use it for. This particular model came out in 1850, and that same year, Colt introduced the 1851 Navy, which then called the belt caliber of 36, belt pistol of 36 caliber, or the Ranger pistol, as Colt referred to it as. Another very popular arm. The other one that came out is the 1849 Pocket, the best-selling Colt percussion gun ever. So in 1850, Colt really launched into the forefront of the arms-making industry, especially in the area of handguns. They had 3 different models. You had the big, heavy plains 44 caliber Dragoon. You had the 36 caliber belt pistol, the 1851 Navy, and the 1849 Pocket. They had a gun for everyone's needs at that point. And again, that's really what launched Colt into being the prolific arms manufacturer that they are, and they still are today. One famous person that carried one of these before he carried a 51 Navy or a brace of them was Welby Hickok. He was a wagoneer on the plains. He carried one of these. He was a very proficient shot with one. Boasted he could make 100-yard shots with one of these very accurately. There's a story where he was driving a wagon and they got held up in the road by a cinnamon bear. He got off, the cub was on one side of the wagon, the sow was on the other. The sow came toward him, he pulled his Dragoon and ended up, they say it bounced off, but probably ricocheted off the top of the bear's head because the bullet probably didn't strike at the right angle to penetrate the skull. And bear ended up attacking Hickok, breaking some ribs, a shoulder, and he ended up having to kill the bear with his Bowie knife and was laid up for a while. But that's another story. But Hickok used one of these along with many plainsmen. They were very revered firearms, and these were made, they transitioned into the third model, which had a rounded trigger guard and made right up until 1860 before the advent of the Civil War, when metallurgy and design really advanced and Colt was able to introduce the 1860 Army, still a 44 caliber revolver, but much lighter, much slimmer, and not quite as powerful, but powerful enough as a 44 to be a very reliable weapon and much easier to carry. And with the advancements in metallurgy, didn't have to be as beefy as the Dragoon. But like I said, this particular example made back in 1990. This is a 35-year-old gun made by Army of San Marco, which they made very, very high quality, well-built reproduction firearms. And I was happy to find this one at the High Gun Collector Show. Guy had it on his table, had a reasonable price on it, and was able to bring it home. I've been looking for one of these, actually a second model just like this, to add to my collection because, quite frankly, I love that square back trigger guard. It is gorgeous. It really sets off the profile of the gun, in my opinion. And I eventually want to find a 51 Navy with a square back as well, because I just think it's a really nice look. But again, the well-made gun, lock work on it is very, very good, smooth action, shoots very well, very accurate, and very pleased with this gun. Like I said, the Uberti still makes these. You can get them brand new. I like the fact that this was an Army San Marco. It was a little bit more of a collectible reproduction than a brand new Uberti would be, and just a very nice addition to my collection. I'm going to be doing a shooting video on this pretty soon, hopefully within the week, and we'll get to watch that. I already have a shooting video made of my Walker I want to get up as well, but just wanted to share this with you. Very nice piece of reproduction history, being an Army San Marco, and being about 35 years old. Got a little age on it. Very well made, gorgeous firearm, and very unique piece of history in the transition between the Walker revolver and where they ended up with the 1860 Army. This is kind of the in-between, and the gun that was actually made, not primarily as a martial arm, but to be sold to the public, and it was very successful in the years it was made. Very many of these were carried into the Civil War and even years after. Again, they were big old hunk of iron, but powerful and reliable. And back then, I don't care if it was the 1870s, even in the 1880s, you still saw a lot of percussion arms because they were reliable. The men knew how to use them, and they depended on them. And that's what they carried. It wasn't all Colt peacemakers and the Schofields like you see in the Western movies. You still saw these up into the late 1870s, even in the 1880s, men carrying percussion pistols because that's just what they knew how to use, and they could shoot them. But that's what I have for you today. I've enjoyed showing this gun to you. I really love being back out in my shop, talking to people about black powder arms. Hit a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel. It's been great talking with everyone again. Have a great evening. Keep your powder dry, and we'll see you next time.